call us into session. Before we get started, the Dalhousie Student Union acknowledges that Dalhousie University and the Dalhousie Student Union building are located on traditional, unceded, and unsurrendered Mi'kmaq territory. The Dalhousie Student Union seeks to honor the relational treaty process in its programming, events, meetings, and interactions. We'll begin with the roll call. Amina.
I think on our way.
Okay. Alex Hughes.
Here.
Chantel.
Here.
Masuma.
Here.
Corey.
Here.
Jeremy.
Here.
Katie George Jim.
Present.
Ali Barnaby sent her regrets. Mary McDonald. Mary McDonald is here. Katie Douglas sent her regrets. Ashley Farrell.
Here.
Arizu.
Here.
Kate Rumble sent her regrets. Yazin.
Here.
Reese McDonald.
Present.
Chelsea Caucus.
Here.
Chad LeClaire sent his regrets. And Katie McClellan sent her regrets. And Cameron Finley.
Here.
Thank you, Cameron. I believe that's everybody, and we do have quorum. So we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Alex and Chantel. A couple of agenda amendments. For the appointments, I wasn't able to send out notice to these appointees 48 hours in advance, which is the standard that our bylaws set out. And so we're going to have to appoint the health rep at the next meeting because Nita wasn't able to make it, but they've both assured me that they'll be free on February 21st, which is, I believe, our next meeting. So I'm going to take that off of the agenda. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, is there any opposition to adopting the agenda as amended? Seeing none, that's taken on unanimous consent. We'll move along to the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a mover and a seconder to accept the January 10th council meeting minutes? Corey and Chantel. There was one amendment to the minutes. Ashley Farrell's last name was spelled incorrectly, so we will add in the extra L. Were there any other amendments to the minutes? Is there any objection to approving the minutes of the January 10th council meeting? Seeing none, that's taken on unanimous consent. Communications received. I received regrets from Katie McClellan, Chad LeClaire, Kate Rumble, and Ali Barnaby. Then we will move along to appointments. These appointments were all made on recommendation of the Elections Committee, or will be made on recommendations of the Elections Committee. Back in December, Council asked Elections Committee to go out and find appointees for some of the council seats that we had vacant. The Elections Committee did that on recommendation of student societies that represented those constituent groups. I received confirmation from both the Elections Committees and the nominees themselves, two of whom are here, that they accept the nominations. So if it's all right with everybody, I'd prefer to do this as a block. Do I have a mover and a seconder to appoint Alexandra Erb as the management rep, Nick Unge as the international students rep, and Liam Finnegan as the LGBTQ2+ rep? Moved by Masuma, second by Katie George Jim. Is there any opposition to this appointment, these appointments? Seeing none, that's taken on unanimous consent. Welcome to council. Alexandra is down here. Do you prefer Alex or Alexandra?
Yeah, you can call me whatever you want.
All right. And Liam is up here. Nick Unge guaranteed me that he would be at the next meeting, so welcome.
Welcome.
There are no presentations, so we'll move along to committee reports. Amina, do you have a report from the board caucus?
So the board will be meeting next week. I don't have any updates on my part. I don't know if you folks have any updates, but we will be meeting next week. We've been putting forward a motion related to divestment and having a conversation on divestment at the board level. And so we've been working pretty closely with DivestDown to put together a package and look forward to having a fulsome conversation at the board level.
Thank you, Mina. Does anybody have any questions for the board caucus?
If I could just add on.
Sure.
Yeah, the motion going forward isn't necessarily to vote on divestment. It's just a motion to really investigate the potential impacts of divestment on our different community stakeholders, from investors, from students, faculty members, and the motion just refers a lot of that investigative work to committee levels, and so we'll hopefully see a more in-depth look into what divestment could mean for DAO. So yeah, we're all pretty excited. It's a collective effort for sure to bring this motion even to talk about. So yeah, I'm very excited.
Come on up.
Yeah, come to the meet. Also,
Yeah.
board meetings are open to the public and students are welcome. There are some seats there.
It's at 3 p.m. on Tuesday.
In the chemistry building or the
McDonald Library.
McDonald Library.
Yeah, board members love when students come. So, and we love it when you come because then we don't feel alone.
Yeah, that's it for us.
Any questions for the board caucus?
You said the McDonald's Library?
Yeah, so it's attached to the chemistry building. It's the McDonald's building. It's what it's called.
It's on the second floor,
Yeah,
and it's a library, and it's just like an archive. Okay.
we can send you a little map if.
Yeah, might need to thank you.
Any other questions? We'll move along to Senate caucus then. Seema?
Sure. Senate hasn't met. They're meeting next Monday, so we're going to have Senate caucus this Sunday to talk about the package and to go over it, and also going over the bylaw changes that are happening, so that the committee is aware and yeah, that's what's happening. There's not really much that's happening next week than more of the Senate subcommittees will be meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Seema. Does anybody have any questions for the Senate caucus? Yeah, Katie.
I just wanted a clarification about the amount of seats that are going to be generally elected. Is it 10 plus the executive?
It's 11 seats in total, so there's 4 that are mandated to specific groups, so it would be 4 that are like non-negotiable, that are in like Senate policy, are the president, VPAE, a grad student, and an agricultural rep, and then the rest of the seats are open. So the caucus is supposed to be composed of all faculty seats and community seats, kind of like council, so that even if we have 11 seats, we make sure that all of our community members' voices are at least being expressed and represented on Senate.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for the Senate caucus? Seeing none, we'll move along to the Society Review Committee. Alex?
Not much to report. We're at 312 as of today. Haven't met since coming back from winter break because there hasn't been any applications. So probably going to call a meeting next week to start looking at the society space allocations for May onwards.
Any questions for the Society Review Committee? Jeremy?
Yeah, which society has like the funnest winter activities, would you say?
Probably the Dalsey Ski and Snowboard Club. They were online submission number 125 if you're wondering.
Any other questions for the Society Review Committee? And we'll move along to the Grants and Sponsorship Committee. Chantel?
Hi folks. Unfortunately, we were not able to find a mutual meeting time in the last 2 weeks, however we will be meeting shortly. And again, I just urge folks to reach out to your constituents to apply for grants and sponsorships as we are approaching capacity for our budget. So the sooner the better, but no other reportings.
Any questions for the Grants and Sponsorship Committee? And then we'll move along to the Elections Committee. We have Alex Lee here. Alex, if you'd prefer, I know that we have elections as a new business item. Would it be easier for council if you were to present your report then? Okay, that's fine. In that case, we'll move along to new business.
Can I have a question?
Sure.
Was there no contact made about a report from the elections committee?
There was a report on the last meeting agenda from the elections committee. I thought that I'd give the elections committee a chance to present a report if they wanted to. I know that they were looking for space on the agenda, and insofar as I hadn't had any motions requested when I first put together this agenda, I included them under report if they wanted anything to report. Shortly thereafter, I did receive a request to put a motion on the agenda, and I just didn't take off the report.
Okay, so but the question still stands of the report from the elections committee? Was that, like, I would like to receive like updates on the elections committee. I was just wondering if for future we could have reports just scheduled from the committee.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Then we'll move on to new business. First of all, we have the motion to discipline. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. It was noticed at the last meeting, and you've all had a chance to review it. I want to take a moment to go over the process that we will follow, and then we'll get right into it. So, first of all, Alex may add any factual points to the statement of allegations, provided these do not raise any new allegations of wrongdoing. Then Mary, and following that councillors, will have the opportunity to ask questions of Alex about any new factual statements or the original motion itself. After that, Mary may add any factual points to her written statement, provided that they pertain to the original allegations. And after that, Alex and councillors will have the opportunity to ask questions of Mary about her statements and about any new material that she presents. After that, Alex will make an oral argument in support of her motion, and Mary will make an oral argument against the motion. After that, council will go in camera to debate, and Mary and Alex will neither be present for that debate, and then council will vote on the motion by secret ballot. That's the process that our bylaws and our lawyer recommend. I want to remind councillors that while there may be very personal issues coming up, I encourage you to all remain respectful. If you need to, please address comments to the chair. If you're worried about how they might be received, that's generally the safest way to go about it. But please be respectful, please respect our equity policy and all of our policies. If anybody has any questions about policy or procedure, let me know, otherwise we will move along.
Quite a privilege.
Sure.
I'm kind of uncomfortable being filmed on that iPad just because I'm not sure what the intent is with filming. And it's already broadcasted on our website, so I prefer you told me.
I'm not putting it down.
Uh,
There's no policy against not filming.
Sorry, Mary. Yeah, I can respond to this. There isn't a policy against filming, and we are being live streamed. Insofar as this is a public meeting, I am disinclined to ask people to put away recording devices. Any other questions about procedure? Then we will move right into it. Alex, if you would like to now add any factual points to the statement of allegations, provided that these do not raise any new allegations of wrongdoing. No. All right. Mary, do you have any questions for Alex?
For Alex?
Yes.
I have quite a few questions.
You may proceed with them.
Alex, I just want to thank you first for forcing me to come down here this evening in the snow. That was very kind of you.
Mary, I'm going to caution you about the tone. Again, we want this to remain respectful, and sarcasm isn't.
I was yelled at the previous council meeting.
And at that council meeting, I also warned the councillor about their
I
tone.
was shouted at when I was out in the foyer by a councillor. So please don't lecture me about my tone. I have objected to you as chair time and time again about the insulting comments that councillors have made to me, and nothing has been done about it to address it.
Mary, when these have come up in meetings, I have addressed them, and insofar as I as chair have a limited power, I'm an appointed position, not an elected position, I can't chastise councillors out of the context of a meeting. Having said that, I have let councillors know when that has happened, and furthermore, adding to this further degradation of the tone isn't the way to address this in the future. So I ask you to keep your remarks related to the allegations submitted, and please avoid excessive sarcasm.
So does that apply to everyone in the room?
Absolutely, and it always
Because
has.
I've been listening to insults.
Point of order. This isn't a question to Alex. Can we keep it to that right now?
Excuse me.
Order.
I have
I'll
been
address this point of
complaining.
order first. The councillor does have the right to challenge the chair. Mary, do you have any further chair challenges?
I would just like it to be recorded on the record that I have been insulted over and over. And I have complained to you on many occasions, and nothing has been done. It hasn't been addressed. I have been called names. I have been insulted as a woman with a disability. So I just want it to be on the record that I have made many complaints to you about the name calling, about being called a racist, about being called all kinds of derogatory names. I was insulted here in front of all of these people on the evening of January the 10th. I was insulted in front of a room full of people on the basis of my disability, and I complained. I followed the procedures, and nothing was done about it. So I will keep my tone respectful as long as the name calling and the insults toward me stop.
Name calling and insults are always unacceptable on this council, and we will note that for the record. And I ask all councillors to consider that in the oncoming proceedings. Mary, if you'd like to proceed with your questions of Alex.
Alex, your motion states that a diversity of opinion is welcomed by council. I would ask you how there can be any real diversity of opinion when so often we see the same faces year after year around the council table, and if it's not the same faces, it's someone getting a consolation job with the union. So wouldn't you agree that there can't really be much diversity of opinion under those circumstances when the same faces are here year after year serving? And for example, Katie Douglas has been the women's rep for 2 years in a row. We've seen Yas on here.
Point of personal privilege.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about why I'm being brought up here. I just walked in this room.
I'm giving
Mary?
Order, councillors. Order. Mary, if you would like to raise points about the principles behind the submission that Alex submitted, then you're welcome to do that, and that's how I was interpreting that. But I would ask you to refrain from saying that councillors were somehow worth less as councillors because they had served on this council for a number of years.
I'm not questioning anyone's work. I'm making the point to refute Alex's assertion in her motion that diversity of opinion is valued on the council. And I'm giving an illustration of how diversity of opinion is eroded when we see the same faces year after year around the table.
Mary, this sounds like a submission for your oral argumentation. I would encourage you to keep this to questions to Alex related to these issues, related to the statement of reasons that Alex submitted at the last meeting. If you want to continue.
Alex, I want to ask you, was my diversity of opinion valued after the Canada Day discussion that took place here at council? Because I remember for months on end being called a racist because I spoke up against that attempt to manipulate council and to slide in a motion under the radar.
Can you, what's the question part of that?
How do you justify your assertion?
I just don't see how this is like related to the motion.
You are making accusations against me. You are leveling all kinds of accusations against me in this motion. And I want you to answer the questions that I am posing to you.
I'm happy to answer anything related to what I submitted, but I'm not going to talk about anything else that happened.
Okay, let me ask you this, Alex, because you're making multiple demands of me to apologize to various people. That's sort of a pattern you've gotten into recently, isn't it? You've been making a lot of demands of people to make apologies to you. You know, it sounds like you have a really overwhelming mandate from the student body to be demanding apologies.
I don't know what your question is.
You don't know. You're demanding that I apologize to Richard Floresone, aren't you?
I believe it's a letter explaining why
you're demanding that I apologize to him, aren't you?
If you read the wording, it doesn't say.
No, answer my question.
Mary, if you give Alex an opportunity to answer your question, I'm sure Alex and all the councillors would appreciate that. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, specific wording, I'm just gonna pull it up right now. It says, submit a letter to Dr. Floresone, admitting that you breached the statement of office and the inappropriateness of this, not an apology.
You're demanding that I make an apology to Jen Davis, isn't that right?
No, it also says a letter to Arik and Jen Davis indicating that it was inappropriate. It never says apology.
Well, who do you think you are, Alex, demanding that I write letters to people? Who do you think you are?
I don't really know what the question is in there.
You don't know what the question is?
Chris, I don't think this is relevant.
Who wrote this motion, Alex?
Myself and the executive.
Yourself and who?
The executive.
What are their names?
Amina Abuwaji, Masuma Khan, Chantal Corey, and Corey Larson.
So you all got together at your winter retreat, did you?
No.
And
we got together.
give me the names of the people who wrote this motion, please.
Mary, Alex has answered that question. Please move on.
So yourself, Amina, and who else?
As I stated, Masuma Khan, Chantal Corey, and Corey Larson.
And Masuma Khan, the counselor who's been calling me a racist. Right?
I would, again,
I'll tell you
ask
something.
that the councillor in meetings not
Alex.
impugn the motion, not impugn the motives of councillors. You can continue with questions if you like.
Who do you think you are?
Mary,
Demanding that I write letters to people.
Mary, you've asked this to Alex already. I would also like to, no, I'm not going to say that. Feel free to proceed with your questions, but please keep it to the allegations that Alex has submitted to this council.
I am keeping it to the allegations. Did you have a lawyer help you write this motion?
No, I did not.
Will you swear under oath to that?
Yes.
You will. So you got together with the VPs of the Dalhousie Student Union and you came up with this?
Yes.
Well, I'd like for you to pick up the phone and call Jen Davis right now.
Mary, again, I want to remind you to keep this to questions to Alex. about the list of reasons and the motion that Alex has submitted.
So you want me to write a letter of apology to people who have insulted me, is that correct?
I would like you to submit a written apology to council.
Well, I'll tell you what, Alex. I'll submit a written apology to council when the people who have insulted me for the past several months apologize to me.
I think if you would like that, then you should probably submit a motion to discipline that requests an apology letter.
Where in the statement of office does it say that I give unconditional agreement to you censoring who I talk to and who I don't talk to?
I don't believe that is stated in the statement of office.
No, it's not. But that's what you're saying.
I'm sorry, what is the question here?
Who are you to tell me that I can't write an email to Dr. Richard Florison?
I personally am not the person that I'm enforcing the bylaws that you've agreed to uphold as a councillor and as a member of the Dalhousie Student Union. The bylaws and the statement of office,
Yeah,
you willingly agreed to.
the bylaws very
Order, Mary. Order. Please let Alex finish her response to your question. She has afforded the same to you, and I ask you to allow her to finish her answer.
This has very little to do with me as an individual. This has to do with the bylaws that we are all held to, and the statement of office that we have all agreed to, in which it states that you will act in good faith, act with integrity, act with the best interests of the union, and respect the collective decisions of council. As seen in my evidence package, this is what I'm holding you to here.
When I argue for the rights of persons with disabilities, that is acting within what I agreed to in the statement of office.
Sorry, Mary, again, I want to qualify this with, this is an opportunity for you to ask questions related to the statement of reasons. You will have an opportunity to make oral arguments later on in this process, but this isn't a time to debate this. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions. If you'd like to do that, please proceed.
So Alex, your motion says that you take it seriously, that you want to ensure that bylaws and policies are upheld, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that always the case?
In general, yes.
In general? So do you remember when the candidate day motion was discussed on June the 30th?
I don't see how the candidate motion has relevance to the package.
Well, because a policy was infringed on and you sat there and you didn't say a word.
Mary, order. This isn't a cross-examination of Alex. This is an opportunity in an administrative proceeding for you to gain clarity or ask Alex questions about the motion that she submitted.
Clarity. She is contradicting herself over and over, and I'm pointing out her contradictions.
You'll have an opportunity to do that in the oral arguments if you would like and if you feel that it's relevant to your case. But please keep this to asking questions related to the statement of reasons that Alex has submitted.
I'm reading from the statement of reasons, okay? I'm asking her questions about her contradictions. She is making statements that can be disproven.
And the opportunity to disprove those statements is in the oral arguments section of this proceeding. you will have an opportunity to present these arguments. Mary, do you have any further questions of Alex?
Just a second. So going back to the council meeting of January 10th, do you remember that?
Yes, that is not noted in my statement of reasons for this. I don't really feel the need to answer questions around it.
You don't want to answer questions about anything, do you, Alex?
I would like to answer questions specifically related to the motion I put forward.
Well, this is related to the motion you put forward because you're claiming in the motion that it's your responsibility to uphold bylaws and procedures. And I would like to point out specific instances where you remained silent.
I think as Chris has pointed out multiple times, that is an argument that is best suited for your oral argument, not the question period.
Don't lecture me, okay?
Order. Further to this, if you feel that a councillor has violated the bylaws or policies of this union, you are welcome to submit a motion to discipline. This is not about whether, this is not, I fail to see how what you're asking is related to the statement of reasons.
This is directly related because I'm pointing out the contradictions. Alex is claiming that it's her duty and her responsibility to uphold bylaws in order to impugn me.
As is the duty of every councillor at this table.
Instances where she remained silent when bylaws and procedures were not followed.
Again, I fail to see how that has relevance to the statement of reasons that were submitted. We're here, council is here to determine if you violated any bylaws or policies of the union, not whether Alex did.
I'm not saying she violated a bylaw or a policy. I'm pointing out that she ignored policies and bylaws and remained silent. But she's claiming it's her duty to uphold bylaws and policies that I allegedly infringed on.
Point of information, from my understanding of the motion, it's council that will decide the outcome of this motion, and not Alex. So I just, I really would like to hear more of this discussion procedure. I'm just in one question about the time and how we'll carry on.
Sure, do you have a point of order about the time?
Point of order about the time of the process.
What's up?
I was just wondering how much time you've allocated to each part of the process.
I have no set limit so long as it remains relevant to the part of the process that we're in. Having said that, I would like to remind Mary again that this is an opportunity for you to ask questions to Alex. If you would like to do so, please go ahead and do that.
Alex, do you remember when a councillor insulted me during the council meeting of January 10th? When I was told in front of a room full of people, it must be terrible to be in your situation. And you didn't speak up, did you?
Again, I am happy to answer questions related directly to the motion, the statement of reasons I put forward. If you have any clarifying questions about my statement, but this is not the time to be talking about other council dates or other issues of council. There are plenty, and you can put a motion to have a discussion item about that. But
oh, I can put in a motion to have a discussion. Really?
you have that right, the same as every other counselor.
Really?
Yes.
So you signed a statement stating that you love all marginalized people, is that correct?
Order. Mary, this is an opportunity to ask clarifying questions from Alex. It is not a cross-examination of Alex. It's not designed for you to bring up things related to what Alex has done in the past. It's about clarifying the statement of reasons or any additional facts that Alex has presented.
I believe that this is relevant with all due respect. Alex is a signatory to special resolution that was passed by council.
Mary, I'm worried that this is going to become order. Mary, this is turning into, again, an argument in favor of the resolution, or opposed to the resolution rather, that you will have an opportunity to present. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions of Alex. If you would like to do so, please proceed.
Well, I'm trying to ask Alex questions, but she doesn't want to answer.
I would also note that it is Alex's right to not answer. Again, this is an administrative proceeding of the Dalhousie Student Union, and everybody is afforded that right if they would like to.
Okay. So what exactly offended you, Alex, about my standing up for the rights of students with disabilities? What did you find so offensive about that?
I think that my reasoning for putting forward this motion is very clearly about my statement of reasoning, which you've received. So all my answers can be found there.
No, you're alleging that I broke policies. I want you to explain that.
I have a whole speech prepared for my oral section. Should I just wait to answer? My entire written speech is going to address that very issue. So, do I answer that now, or do I?
You should wait in order to present your arguments at the part of the discussion at which you are able to present an argument. Mary, again, I really need for this to be clear, concise questions about the statement of reasons and not making arguments in favor of or opposed to the resolution. Otherwise, I'm going to have to move us into the next stage of this process. Thank you, Mary. Does any counselor have any questions of Alex? Seeing none, then we'll move along to Mary. Do you have any factual points to add to your statement, the defense statement that you submitted?
No, I dispute it, and I believe that it's null and void, the arguments about the statement of office.
Okay, that's noted.
I didn't agree with that.
You'll have an opportunity to present this argument. I just wanted to know if you wanted to offer any further facts related to the case.
Yes, that I had raised the point earlier that I don't recognize the legality of this proceeding and that it's a violation of the DSU Act of 1966.
As far as I understand, that's related, having read your statement, that's related to the argument that you're going to make, and you'll have an opportunity to make that argument later on. We'll move along then to questions of Mary. Alex, do you have any questions for Mary?
Well, I'm sure you'll get into this in your explanation, but I'm wondering what specifically you find is legally invalid.
I decline to answer.
Okay. Given that the defense was only a couple of sentences long, I don't have much to work with here, so I have no further questions.
Do any counselors have any questions for Mary? Seeing none, we'll move along. Alex, if you would like to make an oral argument in support of your motion, this is your opportunity to do so.
Can I sit here?
Sure, if you would like.
Okay. Good evening, counselors. I'd like to start by acknowledging that while I'm the mover of this motion, this is something considered and shaped by the executive team. We take disciplinary measures very seriously and feel that they should be primarily used to uphold our bylaws and statement of office, which is designed to encourage thoughtful and respectful debate. As noted in the motion, possible disciplinary action against Mary can be avoided by clarifying the intent of the statement, these statement of office and in turn bylaw violations, which would restore a constructive working relationship between Mary and this council. I believe that the DSU and democracy as a whole has benefited greatly from the diversity of thought and freedom of expression in this room, and that is important that council maintain these important principles. However, it is important for our work to hold good working relations with our community, and by explicitly encouraging others to halt work with the DSU or to actively oppose the work of the DSU negatively impacts us, our constituents, and the decisions of this council. I would like to be abundantly clear that this motion is meant to ensure that we uphold our bylaws. Councilors are more than welcome to disagree with ideas brought forward and respectfully disagree with the decisions of council. There are direct and meaningful ways one can express their dissatisfaction, so long as it does not actively oppose our work. This motion clearly indicates that the terms of our statement of office have been breached and offers an exceptionally reasonable request to clarify the intent of these breaches and work to restore a good working relationship with this council and the members of the Dalhousie community. Contacting Dalhousie administration, including our president and senior VPs, as well as the Student Accessibility Center, imploring them to, I quote, from Mary's email, end cooperation with the Dalhousie Student Union where disabilities are concerned, end quote, is a clear break of the statement of office, which requires counselors to, quote, act in good faith and act in the best interest of the union, end quote, and ultimately jeopardizes the DSU's ability to work with the Student Accessibility Center in order to provide bursaries and support students with access needs. An effective and collaborative approach to resolving issues regarding council decisions may have been to offer creative solutions, bring ideas forward to council in the form of a motion or a point of discussion, or to reach out to constituents and gather their feedback. In the case of these breaches, this did not happen. All councilors have the right to freedom of speech and the ability to motion to amend bylaws or policies, offer solutions, provide detailed feedback or input regarding any DSU practice that they take issue with. The information provided in the evidence package further provides further examples of this councilor choosing to place personal interests above those of council, acting not in the best interest of council and not respecting the collective decisions of council, in instances when they could have constructively used the processes available to them through our bylaws to propose changes that align with their views. Each councilor voluntarily agrees to these terms when they sign the statement of office. We all have a duty and a right to express ourselves freely, even when we disagree with ideas being brought forward, and also have the duty to do so with respect and in the best interest of the DSU. We must hold each other accountable to our bylaws and statement of office. We must set a precedent of respect for one another and for the processes of this council, and encourage councilors to use the processes available to them to propose changes that benefit their constituents and our union. As noted in the presented motion, I ask the following: that Mary submit a letter to Rig Al-Shaiba, Vice Provost Student Affairs, and Jen Davis, Academic Advisor, Accommodations, Professional Faculties, indicating that it was inappropriate to suggest severing accessibility services working relationship with the DSU. I request that Mary submit a letter to Dr. Richard Florzone, Dolly President, and Dr. Kevin Hewitt, Chair of Senate, and Lawrence Sorty, Chair, Board of Governors, admitting that she breached the statement of office and the inappropriateness of her approach in expressing discontent with council decisions. And lastly, I request that Mary submit a written apology to members of this council. I think this is an exceedingly fair request given the seriousness of these emails. If Mary chooses not to carry out these requests, I encourage council to consider this motion and disciplinary action to follow. Although we may not agree with this motion, I think that we can all agree that the actions of some of our councillors has been inappropriate and not conducive to effective work of this union, and needs to be addressed regardless of the outcome of this motion.
Thank you, Alex. Mary, you now have the opportunity to present oral arguments if you would like.
Well, I'm not going to apologize to anyone. It's my right as a Canadian citizen to speak to whomever I choose. And the concerns I expressed to Jen Davis and to Access Services, they wholeheartedly agree with my concerns. So it's a bit absurd to be demanding that I write a letter to them admitting to something wrong because I stood up for the rights of persons with disabilities. That are persons with disabilities are inequitably treated on multiple levels by the DSU. I'm not going to apologize when able-bodied people are appointed to accessibility committees. I'm not apologizing for that. And when I objected to this happening again and again, I was mocked, I was ridiculed, I was laughed at, I was filmed behind my back. So I didn't hear Alex objecting to any of those things. As a matter of fact, not so long ago, I remember Alex sitting right there in that same spot, arguing for absolute freedom of speech and the sanctity of freedom of speech for people to speak their mind. Do you remember that, Alex? I remember it very distinctly because I let out a little chuckle and you looked over at me and said, "That's not funny." You sat there and you swore that freedom of speech.
Again, please, this isn't an allegation about Alex. Alex has moved the motion.
I am pointing out her hypocrisy.
Please respond to the allegation.
I am responding to the allegations. I feel like the fix is in here, quite frankly. Everything I say is objected to. Again, Alex is contradicting herself when she says that there's all this respect and this love for marginalized persons. But she has sat there in total silence again and again when I have been blatantly insulted. The last time it happened was during the council meeting of January 10th, when I objected. I was not abusive, I was not accusatory. I pointed out the hypocrisy and the inequity of appointing able-bodied people to the Accessibility Committee. Now, I've talked about this to Access Services, and they wholeheartedly agree with all of my points of concern. But Alex is demanding that I write a letter to Access Services admitting that I did something wrong. So I have every right to point out this hypocrisy and the double standards and all of this talk about the love for marginalized persons. Well, there was no love shown toward me on January the 10th, and I complained to you, Chris. I did not go to these people's faces who have so frequently and blatantly name-called toward me. You know yourself, Chris, that I have complained. I have met with you about this. I have tried to peacefully resolve this. I've met with you on several occasions. I've emailed you. I have complained, and no one gives a darn. So I find it a bit rich, quite frankly, to sit here and listen to Alex talking about respect for people and, you know, love for marginalized people. I have been very patient about this, Chris. Members of this council have engaged in public name-calling toward me using derogatory terms and phrases. I have not confronted them. I have not been rude to them. I have complained. So I would like for someone to explain to me what I'm supposed to do. I'm a marginalized person too. Some of the women in this room seem to think that they're the only marginalized people and that they're the only ones that are persecuted. Well, I'm a woman with a severe disability, and I know an air of superiority when I see it. And I was treated with an air of superiority on January the 10th. These counselors sat here, they mocked, they ridiculed me, they laughed in my face, and they aggressively confronted me. I complained to you about it, didn't I? I've complained to you again and again.
Yes, and
I have.
in those emails I've explained my position, but again, this isn't about, like, insofar as January 10th is materially relevant to the submissions, I'm allowing you to make oral argumentations based on that, so feel free to go ahead and proceed with that.
Well, I just want you to know that I am not apologizing to anyone. I do not regret one word that I said in those emails. That's my right as a Canadian citizen to express concern when the rights of people with disabilities are being infringed upon. And over my dead body, Alex Hughes, am I going to apologize to you or to any member of this council while they have sat here in complete silence for months and months, while members of this council have engaged in name calling and calling me a privileged woman. I'm not a privileged woman just because I happen to be white. I have a severe disability. I raised a child by myself with a severe disability. I was raised by alcoholic parents. So how dare any of you mock me and call me a privileged woman. How dare you? And how dare you, Alex Hughes, demand apologies from anyone as though you have a huge mandate. How dare you? Who do you think you are, Alex Hughes? Answer me.
Order, this is not the time for questions. Please proceed with oral argumentation.
I'm not your bootlicker, Alex. And I'm not
I feel very
apologizing to you or
uncomfortable
to
with
anyone.
the direction of this
Order.
discussion.
Sorry, what was that, Katie Churchill?
I feel like, I feel uncomfortable with the way the discussions or the points are being forwarded to another counselor. I'm hoping that comments or statements made can be done through the chair from now on, so they're less accusatory towards counselors themselves.
She has leveled
Order.
pages and pages
Order.
of allegations
Order.
toward me publicly. And
Mary?
I have the right
Order.
to respond.
You do, and you have the opportunity to respond. However, again, I will leave this up to you, but I do encourage you to address your arguments to the chair. Again, this is not a motion to discipline Alex, and so I ask that we keep the discussion to the motion at hand. Proceed with your oral arguments.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to reiterate that I don't take orders from anyone about who I can or can't talk to. I do not regret one word of what I said in those emails. I'm not retracting one word of it. In fact, I will redouble my efforts to make sure that students with disabilities are treated equitably and with respect, because right now they're treated very differently than other marginalized groups. And if you try to coerce me by making threats of expelling me from council, fill your boots. Because I'm not about to be coerced by you or intimidated by you, by any of you.
Thank you. Is that the end of your oral argumentation?
I'll ask for a recess, please.
I have a motion to recess. Do I have a second? Katie Douglas. All in favor of a recess, raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? We'll take a 10-minute recess. I call us back into session. During the recess, I received a letter of resignation from Mary McDonald. She has resigned her seat as counselor for student with disabilities effective immediately. Insofar as council cannot discipline somebody who's not a counselor, we'll stop consideration of the motion and move along. Sure, what's up, Leo?
Is there a word? I don't know what to do. I have something to say. Just that I know I'm new, and I don't know if I should. Point of information. Point of information. Okay. So I'm new to all this. So, just watching all this, I'm just curious. Was there any form of like a negotiation or mediation towards how her actions were and the rest of the DSU and their emotions and how they were affected before this motion was passed or introduced? I guess.
I'm not going to comment on anything that's happened specifically. Also, insofar as council was asked to determine a fact that might not have been super relevant, but I'm not going to comment on anything like that in particular at this time. It's something that you can bring up and potentially ask councillors outside of a meeting, but this isn't the forum right now to do that. We'll move along to the Dalhousie Faculty Association motion. Yazin has moved this. Do I have a second? Amina. Yazin, do you want to speak to this motion?
This came up last week. The point of this motion was to, I guess still is, to oppose the proposed tuition hikes that are being made by the university. They're proposing a 3% tuition hike that is made along with a 1.8 budget decrease for all faculties, and so literally paying more for less here. So this calls for the union to take a stance in opposition to that. It gives the mandate to executives to mobilize accordingly. It also resolves that we support the Dalhousie Faculty Association in their negotiations for better increased funding for their faculties. The negotiations, as I understand it, have concluded, so I don't think that's sort of still relevant, but I'm still going to keep it unless someone amends to remove that part, just as a sort of a signal of where we stand.
Thank you, Yazin. Amina, as the second, you have the opportunity to speak now if you'd like to. All right. Councillors considered two motions that were very similar to this motion last week, and I think that we had a thorough discussion on both of them. So you have an opportunity to debate this motion if you would like, but I would like to keep that relatively short so we can move along to a vote. Would anybody like to speak for or against this motion? Katie, George, Jim, and then Jeremy.
I think that it's not a surprise to see this type of motion and to see what we're asking, because this is a continuous effort among many students as well as within the union, and I appreciate Yazin for bringing this forward and putting the motion together. So yeah, I'm definitely for this motion.
Thank you, Katie. Jeremy?
Yeah, I struggle to see how the DFA component is relevant, and I have some conceptual issues with it. I think I'd still support it, but yeah,
Could you refer to
just the whereas the DFA is currently negotiating a collective agreement with the university. Anyways, that's actually the extent of my comments.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to say about this motion before we proceed to a vote? Sumo.
I encourage councillors to vote in favor for this because supporting the DFA actually worked to make sure that our faculty association didn't go on a strike and students are in class and there's no dumpster fire. So let's support our faculty. Cool.
Thank you, Ms. Suma. Katie Douglas.
Okay, maybe I'm just not understanding this correctly. I apologize. This was not here at the last meeting. So I missed out on all of that debate. I am not seeing, like, I like this, I like lowering tuition. And I like the idea of having no tuition. I also really like the idea of supporting our faculty. But I'm seeing a lot about tuition and not a lot of support for our faculty. And I just wish this motion were more about support for our faculty than about tuition, because I think that if we look at the union's history of campaigns and what we voted on in the past, that it's pretty bloody clear that we're not for raising tuition, and I just wish that the statement was more about supporting faculty.
All right, thank you, Katie. Does anybody else have anything to say before we proceed? Mina?
To clarify the conversation that happened last time, we did separate the motion. So one is on supporting the faculty and DFA that passed, and then there was another motion around tuition fees. So we did separate it. The reason that it's coming back, or a similar motion is in front of us today, is because of the longer term connotations. And so we took out what would result in an issues policy. And so these are like more long standing positions, which is why it was separate. So the language around supporting the DFA was taken out and voted on at the last one.
Thank you, Amina. Councilors, okay, moving to a vote. All right. All in favor of this motion, please raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Moving along into the in the agenda to the elections discussion. We have Alex Lee here, the Chief Returning Officer of the Dalhousie Student Union. Alex, did you have remarks about the elections process? No? Okay. Amina, it was you who put this on the agenda. Do you have anything, any motions or any discussion that you want to have around the election?
Yes. So last time we had a presentation from the Elections Committee. They put forward some suggestions to council to look at, in particular, referenda questions. So I was hoping that we could have a conversation as a council to determine when referenda questions should be brought in front of council. I would like to move that this conversation happens in camera.
Do you want to go into a little bit about why that might be appropriate before councilors have to vote on it? You don't have to if you don't want to, but it is like a debatable thing.
I will put the motion forward.
All right, motion to go in camera. Do I have a second? Corey, all in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. We're in camera, so please, all members of the gallery, go outside. I'll call you back in when we're out of camera.
so pure.
We are out of camera, still have quorum. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to say in public session regarding elections? Amina.
I would like to put forward a motion that outlines the referenda process for societies.
Okay, what is the referendum process for societies?
So whereas
Yes.
Amina?
so that societies have to bring in the referendum question first.
Okay.
Okay, well,
We
Whereas,
got the whereas.
Societies
God. It's the whole like typing in front of people thing.
Yeah.
yeah, right, Chris.
must submit.
must submit documentation as outlined in the bylaws
Yeah.
to council to support referendum questions. Be it resolved that all societies have until February 16th to provide all documentation to the elections committee
And
be it further resolved that
Okay, meeting's over. Windows says it. Be further resolved that. That's what paper means.
That all verification of documentation be completed by the elections committee before February
'What day is it gonna be? February.
when would we need to have notice for council?
I can put on the agenda referendum. Like I can do what I did today and just put elections on. It's up to sort of councilors how much time they're comfortable with reviewing documents before the meeting.
The 20th? And just a little edit between committee and before.
Yep.
can we also add the year?
Okay, sorry. Between committee and before, I'll add the year. Sure.
And sent to the chair of council.
Before February 20th, 2018. Do you want to set a time or just before the date, February 20th?
New? Does that sound reasonable?
Councilors can vote on whether it's actually.
All documentation related to.
Chris, can you also get the year February 16th, 2018? Sorry, I'm just being
And between documentation and 2, in the first we have resolved clause.
Yep.
All documentation related to the referenda in question.
Actually, need some water.
Yep.
To the election.
Does that look like what you want?
That does look like what I want.
All right.
Information. Will the 20th, given that the council can be on the 21st, will the 20th be like contestable by councilors that it's like unfair process or something?
I would say that that would probably be a reason to either amend or vote against this motion, and so I'm not going to entertain that as a part of the motion. And also, yeah, hasn't been seconded
No,
yet.
I'm just like, like
Nina.
Oh, I see, okay, got it.
Are we all clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So does this look like what you want to move?
It does.
Does this motion have a second? Corey Larson. Is there any debate on this motion? Amina, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I think that it's really important for our societies to have clear guidance on the referendum process. I've heard from societies who are looking to put forward referenda questions that the process may not have been as clear as they had hoped. So I'm hoping that this motion can provide clarity to the societies and can give them concrete direction on when they need to get things in by.
Thank you, Amina. Corey is the second. You have the right to speak second if you would like to.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Corey. Is there any other discussion on this motion, or are councilors ready for the vote?
Ready?
Seeing no hands, all in favor of the...
there was a
sorry, Yasmin.
Like 2 ounces.
Oh, Alex, do you have anything to say about this?
No, I'm just like looking, like, if you have no view, then that's that.
Yeah, I just want to come and I still hope, I really hope, I appreciate that any of the council can motion to have the pharmacy pass anyway.
That's
noted.
It's not relevant, it's a way of expressing.
All right, if councilors are ready for the question, then all in favor of this motion, please raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Is there any further elections discussion before we move on? Yeah, I'll recognize Craig.
Okay, I don't know how.
No, Derek.
Derek, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you like.
What is, because we have to come and then speak to like our staff at the meeting. Is there a date set for that meeting, just so I can put things in my little book here and know when I got to places to do the right things?
Yeah.
Sure. February 21st, I think. I don't want to speak for any councilors here, but February
Also at 6 p.m.?
Also at 6 p.m. in this very room.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. So I've got to get my stuff to Alex for the 16th and then be here on the 21st.
You got it, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah, I have to get a whole bunch of signatures that he gets approved, and then a special resolution from my board with a question approved, and that's it, correct? So I thought I needed to be.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Sure that I'm ready.
Alex Hughes, do you have anything specifically to say to this?
not like mandated, but encouraged to also have some like financial info on like projected
I'll be
budget.
here with my budget, and you can ask me any questions you want. Do you need that submitted ahead of time? Like, should that be sent in on the 16th?
I have
Sure, Alex, go ahead.
So, like, I need as early as possible because the registered office based on people because they're understaffed and like I kind of like sometimes I ask them to work overtime to help us do this, but like sometimes they might not be able to do it as early as possible. Like,
Okay, so we might need it earlier than the 16th.
No.
Just to clarify, based on the motion that council just passed, you don't need it earlier than.
You need to give it the 16th. We just passed it. It's the 16th.
Okay. And I need to work out.
Uh,
I hope I'm not.
No, it's all good. It's all good, Derek. Does anybody else have anything about the elections? let's move along then
Can
to.
I ask one last question?
Yeah, sure, Derek.
Budgetary information, do you need to see both like our budget as it stands and then like a projected budget were we to win the referendum, how much money that would give us?
Convince us.
Okay.
That's
cool.
the convince us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good response, Ms. Suma. Moving along to old business. There is no old business. Moving along to executive business. Amina.
Yes. Gonna pull up my report. Actually,
No.
Nope. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I encourage executives to be expeditious based on the time.
Let me first.
Yes.
I don't wish Scrabble.
That's a good question.
Yeah, you can.
Can I move to
How's your first day going?
the meeting?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, brave face.
You can move to adjourn, just like everybody. Sorry, Alex Lee. Do you mind pushing away and having this conversation at a later time? We're just trying to figure out some things. You can move to adjourn if you like. It's fully debatable. Has to pass by majority.
I can give a reason if.
It's not debatable. Sorry.
Oh, it's not debatable.
We all have to pass it.
A majority has to pass.
Oh, okay.
Could I give a reason as to why I believe that it's not debatable?
You could raise a point of order or information, give a quick reason, and then move a motion to adjourn.
I am raising a point of reason. Can I raise a point of
Faster.
point of reason?
Yeah, all of the exacts, because we did submit a report.
I'm speaking right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, Chantal does have the floor.
I move that the meeting adjourn. Reason being is that our reports had been submitted in advance. They are available in the council package. If there's any issues, you have all our contact information. It's very late and the weather is alarming, and it's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Noted. Does this have a second? Amina?
Just have a question.
Raise a point of order.
Point of order?
Yes.
Would this affect anyone who wanted to submit a notice of motion? That's my only
I can take a straw poll. Anybody notice of motioning?
Yes. I have
Okay, let's go.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, we still have a motion to adjourn in front of.
I withdraw.
It is withdrawn. Please, councilors, I understand that it's 8:38, but let's get through the rest of this agenda. Amina, you have the opportunity to present your report if you would like.
My report is circulated. If anyone has questions, please feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Amina. Alex.
Ditto.
Thank you, Alex. Chantal.
Also circulated, however, small tidbit, the Budget and Finance Committee needs a non-counselor as Liam has become a counselor. And I advise you all reach out to your constituents and hopefully appoint someone for next council. Otherwise, tell people to apply for grants and sponsorships. Any questions, you can contact me.
Thank you, Chantal. Yeah, go ahead.
Am I allowed to? So I'm not part of the committee anymore. Or will be part of it until you find a replacement. Just want to make sure, and that's good with the council.
I'm gonna let Chantal make that call.
I'm gonna make that.
You made it. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Ms. Suma.
Yep. Same.
Thank you, Corey.
It's in my report. Nominations close for Impact Awards next Friday, so make sure you get them.
RJS.
Announcements. We have
Sorry.
announcements. Are there any notices of motion? Amina.
Notice of motion coming from the Bylaw and Policy Review Committee for amendments to the society policy. We have that in full text, which will be circulated by Chris
Immediately
right
after
after
this
this.
meeting, as soon as I receive it. Any other notices of motion? Are there any very, very quick announcements?
RJS.
I
Sorry.
can drive people.
Thank you, guys. Ms. Suma, did you want to speak about the RJS?
The Racial Justice Symposium is happening Friday and Saturday. Friday is a keynote from 6 until 9 here in the McGinnis room, and then the conference is closed to all racialized and Indigenous students starting on Saturday. Full day of workshop and a party. It's free for students. Please spread it to your constituencies. Please share it on social media. Please push people to come. It's free. It's free. It's free. It's free. and students feel supported by these kinds of initiatives. So please help.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements? And my only announcement is that due to a notice from Amina, the next meeting of this council is February 21st, 2017.
No, 2018.
Is that true?
2018.
Yeah. Could I get a show of hands around commitment to coming to that meeting? It's very important that we reach quorum.
Okay, so we have
Excellent. Having exhausted the business of this meeting, I hereby adjourn it.
I feel like I'm finding the